It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker for today. She really doesn't need an introduction in the center because she's one of us, that's all I can say. And I think she's one of the most knowledgeable women, or anybody, the most knowledgeable person I've ever met. I go to her talks sometimes on Wednesday night and I'm blown away, and half the time it's like, huh? I haven't caught up to her yet, but I'm working on it. Anyway, she is a dynamite speaker. She is so full of knowledge, and if you're in cyberspace and have never heard Paulette Jones before, you're in for a fun trip. And it is my pleasure to now introduce our beloved Paulette Jones.
I love you. Thank you. I'm full of something, so. Good morning. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for being here today. I'm so honored and so blessed to be here today in this sacred space with these sacred folks here. Well, thank you very much. That's great. I'm going to actually do about 45 minutes of announcements and watch you all slip into a coma. Is that okay? Boom. Then we'll carry you out. God bless each and every one of you. Thank you for being here today. Today I want to talk to you. Could we put up my presentation, the next slide, please? It should all be integrated. Great. So today I want to talk to you about the most important agreement of your life, about an agreement with God, with the universe, with yourself, ultimately with yourself. An agreement that I'm going to go in today that changes your life, a different way of looking at life. And if the last couple of times I was here, I have to admit, it was pretty cerebral. I talked to you one time about the meaning of life and how different people search for the meaning of life through various spiritual traditions. We spoke about that. And then I came back and we spoke about the link between science and religion and the mind and philosophy and all these incredible areas of study. And we looked at that, and both of those were pretty cerebral. But today I want to get to the heart. I want to get to the heart and the soul of the matter, and I want to expose myself. I want to expose my... Oh! You guys are disgusting, actually. I want to expose my heart, my soul, the very essence of my being, who it is that I am. And just like we do when we go into spiritual mind treatment, I'll be speaking in the terms of I am, but I urge you to make it part and parcel of who you are, because the stuff we're going to talk about is absolutely incredible. Last time I was here, I spoke to you, I posed a question, who do you think you are? And I responded, and I told you that you are a divine being that has descended from the divine, and you've taken on this form, and you are, and we went into the idea about what an incredibly creative, powerful being that you are. Well, none of that has changed. You are that incredible, powerful being. But as we operate on this physical plane, as we live our lives in this place, people ask us, who are you? So who am I? Well, I could tell you a whole bunch of things about myself. I could tell you that I am one of 6 children that grew up in Chicago, and that my dad died when he was very, very young. And we lived in extreme poverty, I thought, although we didn't know it when we were kids. I lived in poverty and crime, and I fully participated in that poverty and in that crime. I did. I was not a good person. Not that I am now, but I was worse then. I was way worse then. I could tell you that I served in the United States military and that I was actually gathering electronic intelligence on ship movements for the National Security Agency when I was 19 years old. I mean, I was barely a fetus. I could tell you that I am the parent of 4 daughters, the most terrific kids in the world. I love my kids. They're all grown. They're not kids anymore. But I could tell you that about me, and that would reveal a certain part of who I am. I could talk to you about my education and the things that I've learned. I could tell you all about that, but all of that really falls flat on the mark. And today I'm going to tell you how I answer that question, and the answer is I can't tell you who I am. But I can tell you who I have told myself that I am over the course of many, many, many years. And if you were to come up and ask me that question formed in that kind of frame of reference, I would tell you that I am healthy, successful, wealthy, intelligent, beautiful, witty, capable, powerful, loving, and happy. That I stand in the truth of who I am, and I joyfully embrace the boundless possibilities of who I am becoming. That I bring the best of who I am to whatever I do. I live with honor and integrity. I approach every day with a smile, an open heart, an attitude of gratitude, and a continuous sense of wonder and awe. I love, honor, and protect my children and those entrusted to my care. And I teach them through my living example about the goodness and the endless beauty of life. I use my talents, resources, and abilities to enhance the lives of other people. I maintain my sense of humor, and I continually learn and grow, and I accept complete responsibilities for the outcomes in my life that are the result of choices that I have made. That's a life worth living. That's a game worth playing. And that is who I am. Now, I can tell you that I am a transgendered woman and that I was born into the wrong body and that I spent fully 50 years of my life living in fear and darkness. And I traveled these roads and I witnessed other people traveling these same roads, roads that are filled, a landscape that is filled with fear and rejection and loss, crushing, unendurable losses. And I witnessed people subjected to that kind of internal pain put a gun in their mouth and blow the back of their heads off because the pain was just too much to exist. The pain was too much to bear for some. But not for me. Yes, I exist. I had all of that pain, but I knew there had to be a solution. And for me, the solution, the thing that was my rock, that held me in place, was this agreement that I came to. And I'm going to talk to you today about how that agreement came about and how you can create your own destiny. It isn't what happens to us in life that matters. It's how we react to what happens in life. There were so many times I thought, God, how could you do this to me? How could you make me like this? Because I was just answering the wrong questions. I was asking the wrong questions. I spent so much of my time in my life asking the wrong questions. And we are all moved forward by time, are we not? This inexorable march of time that we move forward. And we are exhorted on a daily basis to live in the here and now, right here and now. That's all we've got. But the right here and now is absolutely meaningless in the absence of a relationship with the past and the future. You are here today, in this here and now, because of all the heres and nows that have gone and come in your past life and have delivered you to this point. And where you go from here, where you go from here in your future is a function of what you're doing right now, the thoughts that you are thinking, the activities you are engaged in. So we can say, oh yeah, let's live in the here and now. But in the absence of the relationship to the past and the future, the here and now is absolutely meaningless. Time. We are all inexorably driven by time and circumstances out there. We are at sea in a sea of change. Time is moving us continually. And there's all these external circumstances. The seas, the choppy seas. We are at ship. We are a ship. And I love this poem by Edna Wheeler Wilcox. She said that one ship drives east, another drives west. Both by the same winds blow. It is not the gales, but the set of the sails that determines the way that you go. So it isn't what happens to you in life that's important. It's how you react to what's happening in your life that is really critical. And we have control over that part. We may not have control of all the stuff out there, but we certainly have control over our own lives or our own existence. And as we move forward in time, we are on these seas of change. Things are continually changing, and we are continually assailed by thoughts. Anybody have about 60, 80,000 thoughts a day? Yeah. Right? How are we to pull some meaning out of all of that? We think of thought and it's gone. What am I to do with that? And when I find myself being attacked, when I find myself in really need of this kind of idea, when I really need something to hold on to, how do I pull something out of this torrent of thoughts, this continual change? How do I pull something out of there that matters, that will get me through and will show me a different reality and control my life? My life is really in charge. I'm in charge of my life. And what I have to remember is that regardless of what's going on in life, the changes that are happening, regardless of that, regardless of the thousands of thoughts that are assailing me on a continual basis, regardless of all of that, I have the ability to set my sail. I have the ability to control the rudder and to head for safe waters, for safe passage, for safe waters, calm, safe harbor, the calmness of my own conscious thoughts. Of my own conscious thoughts. And so I seek safe harbor, this metaphor, this beautiful metaphor, and in that safe harbor where I know who I am, I know what I want, I know about the relationships, I know what my values are, and I know how I've developed a code of conduct that controls my life. Wow. What an amazing thing. And the thing about it is, while I'm here in my safe harbor, I'm also building a lighthouse. Because if you live in a safe harbor with your mental thoughts, you are throwing out light. You are letting the whole world know who you are, and people want a peace. They want to come and join you in these sacred waters because they understand that in these sacred, safe harbor waters, none of that other stuff matters out there. It doesn't matter. All that matters is what I do. And the light that I shine by living a life like this, the whole world sees. And again, I'm not talking about me. Well, I am, kind of, but I'm really talking about you. So do we have this clicker thing here? I always have to relearn this thing. It's like I'm traversing a new learning curve every time I use it. I'm going to skip through. I talked about all of this. Here's what we're really talking about. We're talking about setting up a vision for life, a plan for life. You know, if life could be about one thing, I think if life could be about one thing, it would be about understanding who you are. Who you are. I've reminded you in the past of the divine, godlike being you are. Never forget it. You know, this idea about life being about one thing. If I had to think about, well, perhaps maybe it's about two things. It's about your higher self. It's about your higher self. Your higher self is seeking you right now. It's calling you. It's searching for you. Where are you? Well, you're right here. And so what I'm about to reveal to you, what I'm about to show to you is this process that I went through that took many, many, many years. But it doesn't have to take many years. I'm not as smart as you folks are. It took me a lot longer. But it doesn't have to do that because I'm showing you the way. I've created a mental construct. This is a book that I hope to get to the publishers by the end of this year. And so I've created, you know, people make stuff up all the time. Every book you've ever read, it was stuff that people made up. So I made up some stuff. Why not? If Ernest Holmes can do it, why not me? I want to share with you something called the 4 domains of life. This has no basis in reality. It's just my fantasies. But it seems to make sense. Look, For as long as I have known, I have understood the process of learning, that it comes in something called deconstructive morphology. You ready for that? Morphology, think about the words. We're just breaking up form. We're breaking things up into little pieces so we can understand it better. Because I'm not that bright. I can't get my mind around the totality of the human condition. And so what I've done is created this construct. And this construct consists of these 4 domains of life. And together at the intersection where all these 4 domains of life come together, I have a covenant, an agreement with life, a covenant. You know, I like to use the word covenant because it connotates something very sacred. I spent a great deal of my corporate life negotiating multi-billion-dollar contracts with the biggest companies in the world over many companies, many nationalities. And so these were huge complex contracts that I entered into. But none of them are anywhere near as important as this contract with life, as a contract with my Creator and with myself ultimately. That's a contract that is really important. The contracts I was negotiating, thousands and thousands of jobs were at stake, billions of dollars were but none of that's unimportant compared to a contract that you have with God, with the Creator, with the universe, with the people you love most in life, and ultimately with yourself. And it begins by sacred introspection, by asking some questions, some sacred questions, and writing them down. And I'm going to tell you how to do that. Break up the human condition into these 4 domains and consider the first domain. The first domain of goodness here. Goodness, what do you want to see in your life? What are the goodness? You know, Aristotle says that the purpose of life is to be happiness, to be happy. We achieve happiness in relationships to other people, and we achieve happiness by attaining good. So from my perspective, I wanted to continually tell myself that I am healthy, successful, wealthy, intelligent, beautiful, witty, capable, powerful, loving, and happy. Why not? Why not? And I had to put them in the form of the sacred I am. You all know about the sacred I am. There's been books written about it. There's been movies written about it. There's been sermons and countless discussions about what the I am, because the I am is very powerful. They're magic words, because whatever you follow the words I am with becomes who you are. It becomes your destiny. It's like putting your order into the universe for who it is that you want to be. And failure to do that is like sitting at some great cosmic lunch counter, not ordering anything or saying, hey, just bring me anything, and then it shows up and you complain about it. I'll never eat here again. You've got to place your order. So that's what we're about. We're placing our order. And it comes behind the I am. In this idea here of the domain of goodness, it's what do I want? What is my order? It's like filling out your order for what it is that you want, the area of goodness. But you've got to make sure that it is followed by the I am, because that defines your reality. So that's one. I'm getting to how this whole thing came together, but I'm doing it by breaking it into these 4 domains so that we can consume it and understanding that at the very juncture of that is this agreement. That's you. That's you. Years ago, I studied Nichiren Shoshu Buddhism. It's a Japanese sect of Buddhism. And they gave me something called a Gohonzon. And it was supposed to be a scroll of my life, of my spirit. And I opened it up, and it was written in Japanese, and I didn't understand it. So I said, well, it can't be me. They're talking about someone else named Toshiro, perhaps. But it isn't me. It isn't me. So I urge you to take a look at one domain, which is the domain of goodness. How do you want your life to turn out? Do you want to be healthy, successful, wealthy, intelligent, beautiful, witty, capable, powerful, loving, and happy, or whatever form your life wants to take on? Or do you want to be one of these folks who walks around saying, I'm poor, I'm broke, I'm lonely, I'm disgusted, no one wants to have lunch with me? Duh. Duh. Is that the kind of reality that you want to see in your life? If not, then stop it. I think of that. There's a thing floating around on the internet about Bob Newhart. He's a psychiatrist. And this woman comes in and she says, oh, all these terrible things. He says, stop it. It's real simple. Stop it. But you've got to replace. What we're doing is we're replacing belief systems. So you've got to repeat it over and over and over. And it begins with introspection into one of these domains, the domain of goodness. Another domain, the second domain we'll talk about, is values. Do you have values in life? Well, what are they? Tell me what they are. Are your values honor, integrity, wisdom, compassion, generosity, courage? What are those values that you have in life? Write them down. Ask the questions, write them down. It all begins with the creative process, bringing forth from the divine your creative energy into the physical world. And you do that by writing stuff down. By writing stuff down. And the second quadrant, or the second domain, is the domain of values. So what I've done is I've sliced up my soul into these 4 areas so I can get my mind wrapped around it. And the third is the area, the domain of relationships. We are all about relationships. Matter doesn't exist in the absence of relationships. When we talk to people, we say, oh, I'm a wife, I'm a husband, I'm a friend, I'm a member of a congregation, I'm a mother, a father, I'm a sister, I'm a brother, I work for so-and-so company, so I'm an employee of that. It's about relationships. And relationships are really, really, really important. And the profound questions to be asking when you're talking about this particular domain is, what are my relationships now? Do they suck? Does everybody hate me, or is it only just a few select folks? What are my relationships now, and what do I want them to be? It doesn't matter what they are now. It matters to understand the nature of what they are now. But how do you want to see them? Start declaring that today. Declare it now. Don't wait till next minute or declare it now. I have a loving, wonderful relationship with my son, as an example. Even though right now you two can't be in the same room together without picking up weapons. Or so I've heard. And then you look at the fourth, and finally we get to where the rubber meets the road. The conduct. Look, once I understand my goodness, what I see as my goodness, how I want my goodness to develop in my life, once I get past that, and I understand what my values are, that I live with honor and integrity, and I'm courageous, and I'm wise, and I'm learning, and all of those sorts of things, once I get to that understanding, and I understand the nature of the most important relationships too, including, it doesn't even have to be people. Perhaps some of those relationships are about money, for instance. My relationship with money might need some healing. And if so, how do you want it to be? Declare it to the universe. Declare it to the universe. Write it down, declare it to the universe. And finally, this idea about conduct. You know, if we look at the very foundation of Western philosophy, it began with the Greeks. Go figure. The Western philosophy and the foundations of Western philosophy, at the very fundamental basis of Western philosophy, are 3 questions. The knowledge question, what do I know and how do I come to know it? The second one is, given that, how do I conduct my life? And the third is, how do we come together as societies to serve humanity? But this second fundamental question is, how am I to conduct my life? That's a profound question. How do you want to conduct your life, given that you already know that you know what you want to see, you know what the goodness is that you want to see, you know that you have values, and you know that relationships, you understand the nature of your relationships as they exist today and as you want to see them exist, and finally a development of a code of conduct. In a moment, in a little while, I'm going to go through some specific methodology to go through these and some specific questions to ask oneself. But I want to show you an end product about how it all ends up in this covenant with life, what I recited to you a little while ago. And here it is. And as I'm going through it, in just a moment, I'm going to show you how it relates to the brainstorming of those 4 domains. Of those 4 domains, it starts off, these are 10 statements that I have made part of who I am. They are part of my consciousness, and I know them like I know the back of my hand. There's a joke hidden in there for someone, but it's visual. Jokes are no good if you have to explain them. So I won't use that one again today. So, look, it all began, I told you, with some sacred introspective questions. How do I want to see my life develop? What is it that I want out of my life? Well, it comes out right here in the very beginning. You notice the color coding. I'm going to go back. So green, blue. So that's actually an orange. I don't know. It looks a lot like the red, but it's not. In any event, what I'm pointing out is this is all a function of that question about what do I want to see, my goodness, what do I want to see developed in my life, the states of being that I want to see developed in my life. And what I did was I sit down with a piece of paper, boom, it's that easy, and start writing. And I wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote and wrote till my arms swelled up like Popeye. And I just continued to write. And I realized, well, a lot of this is redundant. I'm saying I want financial security and wealth and money and all of that stuff. That's all kind of one. I strongly urge you to break it down into no fewer than 10 points, because you run out of piggies after 10 points. So those are the good things to think about. What is it that's part and parcel of my life? And this is who I am. This is my soul. This is my Gohunzen. I stand in the truth of who I am and joyfully embrace the boundless possibilities of who I am becoming. And who I am becoming is who I came here to be. I bring the best of who I am to whatever I do. I live with honor and integrity. Horse hockey. Horse hockey. I'm such a phony. Not anymore. Now I really do live in the truth of who I am. But years ago, I adopted this covenant with life, this agreement with life. And I told myself repeatedly over and over and over that I live with honor and integrity. And all the time I was living as a fraud. I was making it up as I was going along. I was hiding because of the fear of crushing, unendurable losses. And so I hid. And every time I would tell myself, because I was making this part of my consciousness, I would recite it hundreds of times a day while I'm, mowing the lawn or cleaning the house or whatever it is that I was doing. I'm telling myself, I'm healthy, successful, wealthy, intelligent. I stand in the truth of who I am. But it became a stone in my shoe after a while. Look, if you're going to adopt a set of beliefs, that means you got to give up other beliefs. You have to get rid of some other beliefs that don't support that belief. And if I continually told myself, I live with honor and integrity, what a liar. What a phony. I was neither honorable nor integrated. Well, you can only go through that for so long without losing your mind. Not that that was a big loss in my case, but nonetheless, it's mine and I want it. I want it. Could I have some of it back, maybe? So this became my conscience. And if you adopt some sort of covenant, an agreement with your life, and if you continually tell yourself, look, this is who I am, this is how I want my life to show up, You can't live a lie. You cannot. At least I couldn't. It's worse than that whole thing about rubbing your tummy, and I don't even know what that's all about, but you just can't keep telling yourself these kind of truths and then lying to the whole world. And I was a big fraud, big phony for many years. I can't live that way anymore. I won't live that way anymore. Why? Because my covenant tells me I don't have to. I lived in a landscape of fear. I did. I had a huge job making tons and tons of money, and I lost it because of who I am. I had a member of my own family, my brother, who for 12 years wouldn't talk to me and refused to let his children have any talking. They were not his kids if they spoke to me. But the amazing thing was, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, all that changed. He called me after 12 years and apologized. And I said, I forgive you. I love you. I forgive you, Joe. I do. What can I do? Why? Because I have a covenant. I'm all about love and forgiveness. So I approach every day with a smile, an open heart, an attitude of gratitude, and a continuous sense of wonder and awe. Sure I do. Why not? You think I'm going to get, oh, damn, the rent's due today. Oh, God. Or whatever. I got to clean the house again. Geez, it was just yesterday. Or sometimes it was just last month. Or last year, maybe. Can't remember exactly. Can't remember exactly. So I'm going to show you something. And, here's one. I maintain my sense of humor. Oh, what a powerful one that was. I have to tell you a little story. And it goes to the idea about maintaining your sense of humor. In my early days of my transition, I wasn't particularly adept at it, but for some unknown reason, I decided to go to Hollywood, of all places. So I find myself on this street corner because there was no parking anywhere, and I find myself suddenly surrounded by a gang of very hostile faces who surrounded me and shoved into me and call me the most unspeakable names that you can possibly imagine. I was spit upon, I was pushed, but they didn't really physically assault me. And I heard people talking next to me about what they were going to do with me. They were apparently going to hang me from a lamppost. But as it turns out, I had other plans that evening. So it didn't work out. But I got this one guy right in front of my face, and he's screaming and calling me names and saying, do you know where and I won't use the word he used, do you know where the blankety blank you are? And I said, apparently I must be someplace where it's okay to end a sentence with a preposition. So I couldn't help it. But the idea was that it saved me. They had no idea what I was talking about. Apparently a product of the LA school system. Thank God. And I just stepped aside and they let me go. Because I think they were trying to figure out, what did that mean? What did the bitch just say? What did that mean? They were distracted. So humor is really important. I continually learn and grow. Over the past 4 or 5 years, I've taught myself quantum physics, Einstein's theories of relativity. I've gone back and studied calculus all over again. I have learned philosophy. I continually learn and grow because we are information and energy, according to Nikola Tesla. So I better have a lot of information, and as you can see, I've got a significant amount of energy. So this is, now, what I've done is I've taken a look at those 4 domains that I laid out. And when I've gone through that process, I come up with 4 sheets of paper with all of these things on it, and then I start writing. I start the creative process, and I start putting it in a form that will have meaning for me. And it is a form that encompasses all of those 4 domains that I talked to you about. And then I start writing. And these are obviously my values, right? My values: honor, integrity, truth, gratitude, goodness, humor, learning and growing, accepting responsibility. Those are values for me. They may not be your values. You've got to write this and make it personal for you. But please feel free to steal any of this that you want to. It's available on my website, PauletteJonesTalks.com, and you can go in and take a look at this and get some ideas. Please feel free to steal ideas wherever they appear, because whoever you're stealing them from, they stole them from somebody else. So it's all good. Maybe they stole them from you at one point. Who knows? The covenant with life, an agreement that sets in motion some amazing, life-changing processes. I urge you to consider this process. What is that process? Well, we'll get there in a second. We talked about the relationships. What are my relationships? Look, I have relationships with other people. The most important relationships are the people that are closest to me in life. But I have a relationship with the greater community, with God, and ultimately with myself. The relationship with myself, which is perhaps the greatest and most important relationship of all, because it encompasses all those other relationships. So if there are relationships that are important in your life, get them into your covenant and nurture them. If indeed you're having problems, and I'm making this up, with a child, say, well, then define how you want to see that relationships and put it in here. Even though currently it's an illusion that there might be a broken relationship. Start fixing it. You can only begin with you. You can't begin with that other person. Fix it yourself. And you do it through this amazingly powerful process about an agreement with yourself. An agreement with yourself. Maintain, I'm taking action, I'm conducting, I'm standing, I'm bringing, I'm living, I'm approaching, I'm taking action, I'm always moving. Those are the kind of things that have come to me in this process of looking at that particular domain. And finally, consciousness. Look, we're I'm using all these water metaphors today, but we're standing in this river and it's continually changing, right? Erasmus said you can never stand in the same river twice, because it's changing. So how do I pull something out of that? I do it by repetition. Once I've created these, I have this framed right next to my bed. I see it every day when I get up. It's also framed right up here. And it's done that because over the years, I have repeatedly said it to myself over and over and over and over and over until I accept it as truth, as absolute truth. Why? Because I've told myself over and over, and in doing so, I've replaced all those false belief systems that don't serve me or the universe. You think the universe is served by you playing small? Well, it's not. Accept your greatness. But it has to be your greatness, not mine, not anybody else's. It's personal for you, because life is very personal. You're an individual person. So the other thing is, what you're doing here, and this is one of mine, I stand in the truth of who I am and joyfully embrace the boundless possibilities of who I am becoming. Who is it that you're becoming? You want to be that beautiful monarch butterfly. Start thinking about it now, today, right now, sowing the seeds, coming out of that cocoon of fear and doubt and ignorance and whatever else you've wrapped yourself up in. Stop it. Spread your wings and understand that God wants you to be happy. I want you to be happy, and most of all, you want you to be happy. Then declare it. Don't just sit at this cosmic lunch counter and look at the menu and not order. Declare it. This is what I want. I want that big hot fudge sundae with all the nuts and all of that kind of stuff. That's what they'll bring you. That's what they'll bring you. So it's about change and it's about evolution. Look, we're changing anyway, right? We are continually changing. The body that is sitting here is brand new in the last 7 years. There was nothing that is of you today physically that was there 7 years ago. You're continually changing. We as a race, we are as a species, we are all evolving. We are becoming something different. Let's fuel that evolution with our choices in life, how we want life to turn out. A life that is colored by the kind of relationships we have, about the values that we have, about the states of being we want to see in our life, and mostly about how it is that we want to conduct ourselves in this thing called life. So the methodology, it's real easy. Take those 4 domains and sit ye self down and start writing. Think about the domain of goodness. What do you want to see in your life? And please, 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 please put it behind the I am statement, and that gives it power. Your values. What are your values? Sit down and understand really clearly what your values are and integrate them into this process. Your relationships, really critical. The relationships, and again, it doesn't have to be with people. It could be with money or whatever it is. Relationships. And finally, your code of conduct. You sit down, you write it all out, and then you try to translate it into this form that you will understand, and then you integrate that into your consciousness by repeating it over and 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 over ad nauseum. Don't let it get you nauseous, though. So that isn't what I meant. So here it is. This is the covenant, and so I'm going to we're going to recite it for you one more time before we close out, because it's important. Please, just relax for a second and concentrate. Think about these words. I am healthy, successful, wealthy, intelligent, beautiful, witty, capable, powerful, loving, and happy. I stand in the truth of who I am and joyfully embrace the boundless possibilities of who I am becoming. I bring the best of who I am to whatever I do. I live with honor and integrity. I approach every day with a smile, an open heart, an attitude of gratitude, and a continuous sense of wonder and awe. I love, honor, and protect my children and those entrusted to my care, and I teach them through my living example about the goodness and the endless beauty of life. I use my talents, resources, and abilities to enhance the lives of other people. I maintain my sense of humor. I continually learn and grow, and I accept complete responsibility for the outcomes in my life that are the result of choices that I have made. That is a life worth living. That is a game worth playing, and I urge you to consider going through this process. It's a game changer. It's a life changer. And for me, being here this morning in this sacred sanctuary has been a life changer for me. I'm so grateful for your presence here today, for your spiritual energy, and for your love and support. God bless each and every one of you. Namaste.